going on, guys? This is Revolution Ricky here at Casa de Revolution, doing a video that's not my normal video. This is going to be something totally different. It's to go through some of my comic books. I've only picked out a few comic books, and this is to coincide with the theme of what I'm going to be talking about. But yesterday, me and my wife went with our nephew SJ to go see the new Superman movie, and I really loved it. It was fantastic. It's a little bit of old mixed with a little bit of new, and we had a lot of fun. I actually got a popcorn tin of it looked like the Daily Planet. You know, you had those old newspaper drop boxes where you can just put in some change and get a newspaper out. It was that kind of a looking of a popcorn tin, and it was really cool, and I really liked it. And my nephew loves it, so I'm going to show off some of my favorite Superman stuff. Now, this is not all of it. If it was all of it, we'd be here until this would be a mini series of all the Superman stuff I've got in my house over the years. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff here, and it's really stuff I've accumulated over the last, oh God, I'd say ever since I was a little boy watching these episodes on television on Saturday morning. But that coincides with what I'm going to show. My first introduction to the hero of Superman, go ahead and show you this shirt, was because of one cartoon series. And back in 1973, a cartoon series called The Super Friends came on. I was about 3 or 4, watching this series with my grandfather, who raised me as his own son. I'd hop on the arm of his chair, and we'd watch it every Saturday morning when cartoons would come on Saturday mornings. It's not like what you see on Saturday mornings today, which doesn't involve cartoons at all unless you have cable television. But my introduction to the Super Friends was, this is just one of them. I have plenty of Super Friends on DVD. This is Challenge of the Super Friends, the first season. I really love these, and it's autographed by one of the artists, Tom Cook, who worked on the art for Batman and worked on Superman and all that. And I had him autograph this because I really enjoyed it. I think he also autographed the inside of it. I'll take it out and let you look at it. Yeah, he actually did, right by Batman. But it's a 2-disc DVD set. I got another DVD set here somewhere, and I've got a Blu-ray of it, which is kind of a bootleg, but I'm not going to show it off. But anyway, I had really enjoyed watching Super Friends over the years. It was back in the 70s. This was the show to watch on Saturday mornings. You had Super Friends, and then you have stuff like Clue Club, Scooby Doo, which Casey Kasem, who's a radio disc jockey, more famous with American Top 40, did the voice of Robin and many other voices on the Super Friends. So I would highly recommend you watching them from the beginning, which in the beginning I'll show you another thing in a minute. It was really a good series, and it had the voices, of Casey Kasem, of course, who did Robin, Danny Dark, who did the voice of Superman. Danny Dark was more famous for his voiceover work in commercials. Star-Kissed Tuna was more of his favorite. And, you know, you'd hear his voice on car commercials and stuff like that. He was, every time I would read a comic book, it would be, I still hear his voice doing it. Even though that voices like Tim Daly, who was the lead actor on Wings, and he did that David Koresh movie, did the voice of Superman. I would hear his voice every time I would read a comic book from that era, because the comic books were very, very good. They were very 70s-ish, but I still love them. But Super Friends is what brought me to the dance. And speaking of Super Friends, I have to get it out, pull it out. I also, a couple years ago, before my surgery, ran into Tom Cook again. And my sister-in-law had the guy who does the voice of on Super Friends, of course. He was when Marvin Toyman. He had done a lot of voice over work. Frank Welcome, who autographed this big oversized comic of the Super Friends, which this was really the one that brought me to the dance, watching this cartoon back in 1973. And it's also autographed by Tom Cook, because he did Batman, and I had really loved the Super Friends. I think there's only one voiceover artist that is still alive to this day, and besides Frank Welkin, and that would be the voice of Wonder Woman, Shannon. Oh gosh, I can't remember her last name. Farron, I believe it's called. I'm not real 100%, but I had Frank Welkin autograph this, and I had Tom Cook autograph this. My sister-in-law actually got me this autographed, but I had the comic. I went to Utah to visit, and he was appearing at the Frank Welcome was appearing at the oh gosh, what was it? Oh boy, the FanX. He was appearing over there, and I had really enjoyed her doing stuff like this. We've actually traded stuff all the time. You know, I'll give her stuff, she'll give me stuff, and it's all good. But she's really a cool girl, cool cat, and I like her. She welcomed me with her open arms, her and her brothers. I gotta give props to my sister-in-law, Elizabeth. I love you, babe. No, I better not say that. I love you. Sorry, didn't mean to call you babe. But I just wanted to come on here and show you a little bit, and we're gonna get started. Well, we can't start off with Superman without. I gotta find it. Live television. Cut me a break. Without. Oh, for heaven's sake, what is it? Oh, here we are. Without the one comic that brought him to the dance, and I'm talking about Action Comics #1. This one is a reprint. Don't get your hopes up. If it was the original, my house would be bigger, a little bit bigger. I'd have a lot more money in the bank, and I'd have this under lock and key. I'm pretty much got every major comic book known to man in reprint form, one way or another. And Action Comics #1 was always the one that brought me to the dance. It's really tells you of the time of the era, which was gangsters, cops, reporters. It was during the Great Depression. This actually cost me $7. If you were to buy this on the newsstand back in the 1930s, it cost you a dime, because it really and this is just a replica copy. We got this, and I'll show you a little bit of it. I really enjoyed the story, even though I've read countless Action Comics over the years. I mean, this has been reprinted so much, and this is just a replica copy. I mean, when I worked at the comic book store years and years ago, my boss, Stephen Barrington, who was a big Superman fan, humongous Superman fan, his collection of Superman was second to none, and he's no longer with us. We miss you, Steve. He showed me off some of his comic books of Superman, all graded, and they were phenomenal. And what I always do, if there's something so old, I'll put my hands behind my back. And I did that, and he goes, "Well, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm admiring it from afar." He goes, "Well, why?" I said, "Because I don't want to touch it. I don't want to ruin it. So I'm okay with doing that. I'm admiring it from afar." He says, "Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. And that's respectful. I mean, you can still touch it. They're graded." I said, "No, I don't want to take any chances." So I said, "Besides, I got 10 thumbs and 2 left feet." So he showed me off those, and we were getting ready to do a Comic Con here, the Mobicon, and I had worked 9 days straight getting ready for that con, and then the next week after the con, that following Monday, I had to go do jury duty. I can't do that anymore because my health is not cooperating with me, but Superman Action Comics #1. Really love it. And I'm going to show you off something a little bit later. With Superman #1, Action Comics #1, you might as well go ahead. And this is going to be one of those large issues. This is Famous First Editions. Now, I got the smaller comic somewhere, but this is Superman #1. It's a replicated copy of the Superman from the 1930s, his own Superman book. And when I just showed you a minute ago, I had bought, I got those, they reprinted this one a few years back, and I bought it, and it's somewhere around here. But this one, this issue, this Famous First Editions, I actually went to Sears, which is basically non-existent. We were going there one day, and they had the Superman book thing on top of a shelf somewhere during the toy aisle. And I went down the toy aisle, and then maybe about 8 or 9. It was at the time the Superman movie had come out, the first one with Christopher Reeve. And I had looked in it, and I saw it, and my grandmother bought this for me for like $2, or it could have been $1.50. I think there was a price tag. I can't really remember, but I had really, really loved getting this because it did me for years. I thought, yeah, I got the first issue of Superman #1. And, this one's for Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. I got plenty of big books like these somewhere. But I had always loved this one. This one's got a special place in my heart. My aunt threw that one away that my grandma bought me years ago. So I had gotten this one off of an auction. I can't remember who sold it to me. And I was like, come here, you're mine. And I think I bid over a little bit over the price what the guy was asking. And all the bidders was like, it's his. When I really want something, I'll get it. So this one right here, it's back in my collection after years and years and years. This is one of my favorites. Okay, and I have this, which I also bought from an online auction. I don't talk to the guy anymore, but I always wanted this. So I can't tell you how many times me and my Aunt Michelle went and saw this movie. It definitely made money off me and her. And I've seen it 4 or 5 times that I remember. It's one of those, it's kind of like those big magazine books I just showed you. And it was also, no, this one was a little bit more. This was almost $3. But I had gotten this very, very early on in that auction, and the guy sold it to me. I don't talk to him anymore, but I got thrown out, and I never had it until recently, a couple years ago. The Superman 2 oversized magazine collection. I loved Superman 2. I thought Superman 2 was more comic bookish than Superman 1. Of course, Superman 1 was comic bookish in its own right. But this one I really enjoyed because it had articles about, I'll just show off a few pages here and there. Had, oh shoot. Probably won't wanted to. It's got all sorts of stuff. Here's an advert for the DC line of comics, where you can see I had just basically bought all these. This one I really got, and I'm not going to show too much of it because it's getting tattered and I don't want that. So I had bought this on that auction. It didn't cost me much. I think it cost me like $20. Okay, I'm going to show off some of my graded Superman comics that I got. Let's see. In the mid-1980s, John Byrne did a series of Superman. They had reinvented the character. The prior artist for the comics, Kurt Swan, who drew him from the 1950s, drew him from almost 40 years, 30 to 40 years. Kurt Swan, was the better. I love his artwork, but I also like John Byrne, who just recently celebrated a birthday. Happy belated birthday, John Byrne. This is graded 9.6 CGC, Superman #1. Fighting Metallo. I always like this. I like the head. It's your first issue, and it could be your last. So I had got this on an online auction, and I never really collect too many graded comics. They're usually a hit and miss with me. but I always like this. And I also got number 2 of that. And The Secret Reveal, where Lex Luthor's sitting there on a computer, Clark Kent is Superman. I also got this separate issue somewhere. But I'm glad I got it. It's graded 9.6 CGC. It's, the John Byrne and Terry Austin writing, Clark Kent is Superman. Don't have number 3 of that, but I do have one where rated 9.8 CGC of Superman number 4. I had also got this on the online auction, and it's a 9.8 book, and I guess he's version Bloodsport. He plays for keeps. Now, back in the 80s, Superman really got his hind end kicked. I mean, he wasn't as powerful as he was. I mean, during the Kurt Swan years, in those comics, he was more powerful. And then they had rebooted the character, and he was really a of course, Lois knew who he was, and they were engaged, and you get the idea. Well, this is a graphic novel of Superman. I remember I went and bought this the day it came, or the week it came out. I really loved it. I still love it. I had it's by J. Michael Straczynski, who is more famous for his work on Babylon 5, and he writes comics like Spider-Man. He did Amazing Spider-Man, the famous black issue where Spider-Man it's dealing with the World Trade Center tragedy. So this is Superman Earth 1. Very good book. I bought it before my mom died. It had a dedication in here because I think prior to it says, oh boy, I can't even remember where it's at. I know it was here. Yeah. If you experience the same thing, if you ever wore that symbol on a t-shirt, doodled it on your back of your notebook, or had it tattooed on your arm, if you understand what the symbol means, that all things are possible, then this book is dedicated to you. And I went home and I told my mother, this book is dedicated to me. And she goes, nah, you got to be kidding. I said, no, I'm serious. I never said it was dedicated to me personally, but I had told her it's dedicated to me because I have a tattoo. I'll show it off. I have a tattoo of the George Reeves Superman S on my arm here, and it's the only tattoo I got. I'm not getting any more, but I always thought that was cool, and it's a good story. If you ever want to read anything of Superman. Well, moving along, I'm going to go ahead and show off a few miscellaneouses. Well, you can't have Superman. You got Superboy. This is a $15 comic I bought. I think either my friend Michael gave me this or I bought it at a collector's show. I really don't remember. I think he gave it to me. I'm not 100% sure. I actually liked reading the New Adventures of Superboy when I was growing up. because he was a teenager in high school, and I was getting in that double-digit age range, which I am now. I'm 54. He had gave me a bunch of comics. You know, we have wars about trading comic books all the time. Hey, I'll give you 3 for 1, or you give me 2 for 5. You know, stuff like that. And we had always done that, and we had fun. Now, you know, he tells me I won the war with the comic books, and I said, well, you won the war with the vinyl records, so hey. I mean, not like we would go out and hit anybody. We were been friends for 45 years, but figured I'd show off this little comic of Superboy. Also got a graphic novel here that I won offline. It's Superman Archives, Volume 1. It's as the first 4 issues of Superman from the 1930s. Where, you know, I had this originally somewhere, and it's been with me for years. I also got Batman: The Dark Knight, which my sister-in-law, I sent the original copy of that to my sister-in-law for her son, so he could have it and pass it down, because I've got a new copy somewhere around here. But I got this, and it's got a forward by a forward and afterthought by I think let's see, I think it's Steranko, yeah, Steranko, which I love Steranko's art. Can't go wrong with him and Nick Fury. Good Lord. I mean, him and it's got the thing right there. I mean, I really enjoyed this growing up, because all 4 issues, and I could read all 4 issues when I was younger. Let's go ahead and show off this one. I only got a couple more that I'm going to show off. Let's see, what do I got? Okay, yeah, got a couple more. This is a little more recent. It's The Death of Superman. It has also the movies in it, Superman Doomsday. And I had an autograph by Ray Wise years ago. This past February, when me and my wife went to Pensacon, we had met Ray Wise. And, you know, Ray Wise is famous for Swamp Thing. He did RoboCop. And he did the voice of Perry White in Superman Doomsday. So I had him autograph this, and I loved the book. I got all the individual books of The Death of Superman, The Death, The Return, Funeral for a Friend of Superman, which was that, and Batman Nightfall was my 2 favorite comic book series to get into. I had gotten all of Nightfall recently, over the 20 years, and collected with those, so because I had The Death of Superman. I was hoping that the movies, Superman Doomsday, would be like The Death of Superman, the whole storyline, but it wasn't the case, and they did their own take, and it was inspired by this, but it really didn't come out until years later, and it really was good. I also got this one. That's issue 87 of DC Comics Presents. It's a special crisis crossover of Superman and Superboy, which led into, this is Superboy of Earth Prime, which during the crisis, I don't know what happened. I read Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I thought it was great. But I bought this in the 80s, and it was, at the time, I was starting to get out of comics, because girls and cars and music, especially music, was taking over. So this was a real good read. Also, I got the 30th anniversary of The Death of Superman. Now I've got the Death of Superman comics somewhere. It's in a private place. And sorry, I had a knock on the door. I read all that. So, I bought this and I really don't read these type much. I keep them in plastic bags and stuff like that. I won't open one of them. So that was pretty much. Let's see if I got any more over here. Let's see. I got a couple of the Funeral for a Friend comics and the Death and Return. The Reign of the Superman, which is a great storyline. That actually came into me back in the early 90s when I was going through a very rough time. I was reading comic books again because I was going through a bitter breakup, and the bitter breakup really affected me personally. But, all is well, I'm a married man, been married for almost 14 years, and I guess I'll show the last. Oh boy. I'm not going to show off my movies because I did show off the Super Friends, but I got a lot of Superman movies here from the years past. I got the George Reeves series. I got the Dean Cain New Adventures of Superman. I got the Christopher Reeve movies. I got the Henry Cavill movies. Definitely going to get this one when it comes out on DVD or Blu-ray. I got all these Superman movies, and I've met some very interesting people from the Superman movies and met those. So, I'm going to show you off all my prized possession. I would do a drum roll, but I can't play drums with a crap. This, besides my wife, is my prized possession. Of course, but I don't possess her. I'm in love with my wife, and I've been in love with her for 14 years, ever since I met her. I don't think I need to say any more. My autographed copy of Action Comics reprint number 1, signed by Noel Neill, Margaret Kidder, Dean Cain, Brandon Routh, and Erica Durrance. A online friend of mine, has been bugging me for this for years, and I was like, get your own. He goes, no, I'd rather have yours. I said, no, you ain't getting it. I'm being buried with this when I go. This is my autographed copy of Action number 1, and yes, all these signatures are 100% real, because I met every single one of them. But this is my prized possession. And I paid like $1.75 for this comic. $1.75 comic, lifetime of memories. And I really don't like taking it out too much. I put it in this protective thing to help me. I'll take it out a little bit and show it off, because it's not much. It's the same thing. It's just got like 13 pages, and this is a 80s reprint. I guess it's 50 cents. I had bought this for like $1.75, and I had met the last actor I had met in the Superman mytho of comics, I don't want to ruin it, was Erica Durant's. I do want to get a couple more signatures like Tyler Hoechlin or maybe Jeff East, who was played Clark Kent in the Superman movie, young Clark Kent. But this is my prized possession. And this one never leaves my house. In fact, I keep it under lock and key. I have a safe, so it's under lock and key. Nobody knows the combination but me. So, oh, that rhymed a little bit. So this is my prized possession of Action Comics #1, autographed by some people who acted in the Superman movies and TV series throughout the years. One of my favorites. Well, everyone, that's about it. I've been on here for a little bit, and I just wanted to come on here and do a little bit of my collection of my comic books. It's not all of them, like I said. I'll probably do more videos of comic books to show off what I got, what I love. But anyway, I'm going to sign off. This is Revolution Ricky. Keep reading. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.